Hi everyone, it's Roger and James here from the What's on Disney Plus podcast. Happy New Year. Here we are on the 1st of January recording a brand new episode. So before we go into any of this week's news and also our thoughts on the Book of Boba Fett, as well as looking at what's coming up in 2022, I'm just going to do a couple of bits of housekeeping. If you haven't already done so, make sure you subscribe on the audio platforms like Spotify or iTunes, where you can listen to us there, you can listen to us on the road, etc. Or you can find us on YouTube as well. A big hello and thank you to all of our supporters on Patreon and YouTube channel members. They all help support the channel. They contribute to the weekly Q&A, which takes place every Sunday. And also, if they're a tier gold and above, they also get a little shout out. So big hello to Sarah. Thank you very much for all of your support. Hello to Andrew, Elliot, Jacob, Caleb, Red Marsman, Era G, Andrew, Cody, Darren, and Lauren. While over on the YouTubes, thank you to Ricky, Bubba, Dave, Diona, Adam, Maham. We've also got Ben, Raphael, My VCS Still Works, Bina, Joshua, Dawn, Martin, Jeremy, and Sarah. So big thank you for all of your support. And let's jump into it. So we're now in 2022, which seems a bit weird. The Christmas decorations are of how long they stay up before they get wiped out.
I never had Christmas decorations, so that was easy for me.
Yes, yeah, so we'll probably take him down tomorrow. But yeah, so this past week, not a huge amount of news as you would expect. I was expecting a little bit of a quieter one. Literally the first press release of 2022 today was from the Kardashians, which was kind of surprising because the new series is coming to Disney Plus later this year and to Hulu. Wasn't expecting that one today. But also they announced This Is Us, the 6th season, is going to be coming to Disney Plus here in the United Kingdom and on Amazon Prime. They're going to be sharing that one there with new episodes dropping the Thursday after they air in the US. So, yeah, so another big surprise. So again, just this kind of constant rollout of new content dropping onto Disney Plus here in the UK every week. But that's pretty much it. Wasn't really huge much more than that. So before we get into what's coming up in 2022, I just wanted to go back and take a look at some of the highlights of 2021, which you guys have voted for in our 3rd annual Best of 2021 award. So this was all voted by you. We had over 1,000 votes. And so just going to run through here a few ones quickly. So up first, we ended up with the best original movie of the year was Luca. Not a huge surprise. I think, I love that movie. I thought that was fantastic. Nothing wrong with that one.
It was a great movie, and admittedly, there was not a whole lot of competition for it either.
Yeah, no, it wasn't so bad. The best special of the year was the Haunted Mansion Muppet special, which a lot of fun that was. Nothing wrong with that one.
Yeah.
We also had the best animated series of the year went to What If, which it was, I think generally that, that was in the ring much more than was it Monsters Inc. and
Monsters at Work. I think
and Bad Batch.
I would have said Bad Batch might have might make a good showing at it, but What If winning is not really any surprise. Plus, the quality of the animation in What If was really, really good.
Yeah, it kind of grew on me. It was a bit of a slow burn on that one. The best original documentary movie was The Rescue. Now, the thing is with the documentaries, they tend to, a lot of the National Geographic ones now tend to go to cinemas for like 2 weeks or 3 weeks as kind of a base, I think, as an awards kind of thing. But The Rescue, no doubt, a highlight for me of 2021. I think one of the best documentaries easily.
Yeah, I 100% agree so far.
Yeah, the best short was Olaf Presents. That one was the one that picked up the most amount of votes, which isn't surprising. It's been trending ever since. I think a lot of people have been checking out that series of shorts.
Yeah, I wasn't super into it, but Olaf is always popular. I think that one might be more of a popularity contest than best overall.
Yeah, but I think like Nona was one of my favorite ones, but there was something of the Spark shorts and the short circuits and the launch pads, and there's been a lot of great stuff, but they don't get the same amount of attention.
Yeah, actually, the popularity contest is probably selling it wrong. I think people just didn't watch the Spark shorts, so they didn't have the exposure to some of the other ones, which is fine. Olaf was still entertaining.
Our best documentary series of the year went to Beatles Get Back. Which I wasn't really surprised about that because that was a major. I kind of wonder if Welcome to Earth, had it been released like a month or so earlier, might have had a little bit of competition, but it doesn't make a lot of thing to me.
Well, Welcome to Earth, Welcome to Earth was probably the most likely one.
Yeah.
And I think if they'd spread it out week after week to let kind of
grow it,
word about it kind of to travel, that might have done well. I will say neither of us were super hyped on the Beatle ones. It was decent, but I was talking to my my music loving coworker. He loves Grateful Dead kind of stuff, and he thought this documentary was like one of the greatest things that had been released in the past 3 years. Not even just like in the documentary sphere, just movies in general. He was totally in it. I think he said he'd watched the second episode like 3 times already. So
I think it's that thing of, if you love the Beatles and you're really into the Beatles zone, you can appreciate it more than maybe, if you're watching for the first time and you're not really familiar with them, going, you're just jamming. I mean, I enjoyed aspects of it. I thought it was a little bit fluffy. I preferred the third episode with the actual thing out on the top. But yeah, it was definitely a solid documentary.
See, I don't even think you need to necessarily be like a Beatles fan, so much as just respect what their impact on the industry was, and then seeing how the Beatles created. For anybody who's musically inclined, it's obviously going to be a really big deal, because you are seeing basically the masters at work and getting to see what their methodology is.
Yeah. And speaking of them, they actually had a double one, because the McCartney 321 documentary also picked up the award for the Star Hulu documentary as well. So if you're just a fan of Paul McCartney, you can't go wrong with that one. The best Star Hulu original. This was a little bit of a tricky one, because generally Vacation Friends won, but it was kind of technical. I would say it was really the only one that was eligible. I mean, we had Book of Bloods, but that was out last year on Hulu. There was Summer of Soul, but I don't think as many people checked that one out. I think this year will be a little bit better, because we got a few more movies that will be shared across it. But it's one of those things with awards of what's eligible is eligible. The best series went to Only Murders in the Building. So again, lots of competition in that one, but that one took home easily. There was a very much shifted on that one, which I completely understand. It was an amazing series.
No question at all. So this is a little aside, though, nothing to do with what Only Murders in the Building. You keep putting up the graphics, and for whatever reason, instead of Star Hulu, I'm reading it as Rulu, like putting the I don't know why, and I don't know why I'm mentioning that, but it's weird. It's happened with every single one of the banners so far.
Yeah, I'm wondering if it's just how it's coming across on this thing. We also got the best new series of the year was The Simpsons. That one picked up. In general, it was always a bit of a funny one, I think, with like what series, because like The Simpsons new episodes are dropping onto Disney Plus in Australia and Canada every week. And you got things like Grey's Anatomy, and you got like The Walking Dead. You got all these different shows on there. But obviously as well, like a lot of people were like sort of asking about like Disney channels, like they don't have the same impact. That's like The Simpsons is just watched by so many more people.
Yeah, I don't even know if I would include this, because I mean, yes, they're new episodes, and so technically it's in the category, but it's on what, season 33?
33,
yeah, something like that. It's so ingrained.
Yeah,
I'd almost be like, let's have the category with everything but The Simpsons, or everything but Simpsons and Family Guy.
And also, I mean, like, you got Family Guy, you've got Grey's Anatomy. These are long-standing, established series. I mean, we were watching Grey's Anatomy the other night, and they're going, and I told them, I've been watching this for 18 years. It's just like, and we're going, and they were like, they really need to end it, because I am actually getting bored of this.
And they've had spin-offs and crossovers, and well, I mean, it's the same like ER back in the day. That went on for so many.
Bit too long,
there's something about the medical dramas. They when you get the one really popular one, it gets legs, and it just keeps going.
Yeah, it's definitely. And finally, the last award is the best movie of the year went to Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. Not a huge surprise. I personally thought it was one of the best movies of the year. We didn't include Eternals on that one or anything after Eternals, because it hadn't arrived on Disney Plus yet. But yeah, so it's definitely. I thought it was good. I'm going to be honest, even now, I still think I actually preferred Shang-Chi over Spider-Man. Even it's like, yeah. I'm like looking when I was thinking back, I was thinking, no, I think I preferred Shang-Chi because it was new and fresh. I think because I came in, it was a nice, fresh superhero I knew. I've never read a Shang-Chi comic book. I've not really played him in a video game. I kind of was able to just take it in, and I loved the style and the art. And whereas Spider-Man was great, but it pulled on the nostalgia factor much more than Shang-Chi, and I think I enjoyed the new aspect of Shang-Chi.
Yeah, I would say the same. I don't want to take away from No Way Home because it still is a very, very good movie, but there is a lot of emotional nostalgia factor from seeing Toby, seeing Andrew, seeing Alfred Molina and all that stuff, and kind of tying up not just this trilogy, but the previous duology and the trilogy before that, and bring them all together in a satisfying way. It is honestly a contender for the 2022 best if it ever makes it to Disney Plus. I know that at least in the States, there's some stuff going on.
Right. But. So basically, what it is Sony signed a deal with Disney back in the summer, stating that some of their as of today, all new movies coming from Sony, Disney Plus, and or Hulu have the pay 2 window. So this will be like Morbius, whatever else has come out later this year from them. I think Uncharted, for example. After they've gone to cinemas and after they've gone to paid on premium rental, etc., then they go to Netflix for pay 1 for 18 months, and then they can come to Disney Plus or Hulu, depending on what's around in like 3 years' time. So at least, Morbius would be maybe 2 years, so it might be 2024 before it arrives on Disney Plus or Hulu, depending on kind of the state of Hulu at that point. The movies like Spider-Man still have to go through their pay 1 window and their pay 2 window, and then I think they'll be classed as legacy, so then they would be able to be moved on to. So we are talking, if it's any quicker than 2 to 4 years, it's going to be something along that. It's not instant unless they make but I think Stars will get it first for at least 18 months. So it's a while off, but it's in some ways it's easier. Like internationally, it's just no, it's not coming. There's no deal. It's just no. Whereas the US one's like so complicated because of how it works. It's actually easier with the 2022 movies and beyond because we know definitely they'll be arriving. But yes, it's going to be a while. Right, so there we go. So let's now talk about 2022. There is a lot of content coming up in 2022. I've been putting together so many articles in the last 2 weeks looking at everything that's been coming up. And I honestly feel like this is going to be the packed year for Disney Plus. I mean, 2021 was a good year with all the Marvel series, and there was a lot of other series that went alongside it. We had all the Star originals. But 2022, I mean, I know Bob Chapek has said that by the end of 2022, he want full productions is hit full capability. The Death Star is fully operational by the end of 2022. And they're going to have every one of their studios and production houses on full power making content by the end of this year. So we're really going to start seeing a ramp up. And just looking at this list of lineup, when I've said a few people go, "Oh, there's not a lot," it's like this is so much better than last year, and even better than the year before. So it's like, how much? Because it's just. I mean, I had some people, well, I want 7 or 8 Marvel series. They literally just want a Marvel episode every week. It's like, and then that's some people say no, and other people are like, yes, yeah. I'm quite glad we got a little bit of more variety coming up.
Yeah, it's very interesting looking back at 21 from the perspective of 20, where we're just thank goodness we have something to talk about every week. Almost every week. I think there were a couple of random ones here and there, but we pretty much always had at least a couple episodes, and then once Star came into the picture, we always had something to talk about. But 21, we always had something to talk about. 22, it really does look like we will far more often have something to talk about that we want to talk about rather than we're talking about this because it came out this week and it's the major release, but actually it's not that good. So
I mean, I don't know generally as a whole if we're going to see less filler moving forward because I mean it does look like a lot of the stuff that they've been throwing at Disney Plus, the cheaper stuff to make Big Fib, Foodtastic, Be Our Chef, etc. Is all that kind of stuff going to go to the side because they just realize people aren't watching it, or is it the amount of people watching it to how much it costs to make? Because generally, you can just see as a whole, people are just not interested in that kind of content. It is very strange. They've not really got a huge amount of stuff announced like that. You know, they tend to be last minute things, but who knows? We'll have to wait and see.
We can't tell ourselves because they have the numbers. They can look at the Foodtastic numbers or the Big Food numbers and go, okay, it's not really a success, but enough people watched it that it was worth us spending the money on it, because obviously these are much lower budget. They're not spending nearly.
This is the thing. This is the thing: is if it costs a tenth of the money to make an episode of Foodtastic than it does to make an episode of Book of Boba Fett, it can have 10 times less viewers to be technically a success. That's the key thing there as well. You know, it's like anything. You know. But will we see a bit less? Looking at what we've got lined up, there doesn't seem to be as much filler, but they could. I think there'll be stuff thrown in that they've not announced because it generally just won't get our attention. Right, let's start off. First off, we're going to just go down this list that I put together because it's just going to be easier that way. And I will be less likely to forget something. So we're going to start off with the Marvel stuff. So Moon Knight is going to be the big one. I'm going to be honest, this is the series I'm probably the most excited for from the Marvel side because I know nothing about this character. And it's got, you know, Oscar Isaac in it. This is the one series. We don't know when any of these Marvel series are coming. I think Miss Marvel's summer, but that's all we know with the Marvel stuff.
I've been a fan of Moon Knight for a very long time, probably since I really got back into comics in the 90s. He's just a really interesting character when done right. Now, there have been a lot of comic series with him done very, very wrong, and they're generally pretty awful series. But when he's done right, it's creepy. It's a little psychologically terrifying, but with a mix of like Batman style action, bit of humor thrown in there. So if they do this right, this could be a very, very good series. If they do it wrong, though, it will be a mess. Yes,
I've got full faith in it. We're also going to be getting She-Hulk. And I think that one's going to have 9 episodes. I'm really looking forward to that one as well because I love the Incredible Hulk movie. I always thought that was an underrated movie. I love the Abomination. I always like She-Hulk was. I remember watching the cartoon as a kid, and you know, this is a character. It's probably out of the 3 of the Marvel series, the one I know, or I think I know because I kind of grew up with this character. So it's nothing quite so fresh and new. But obviously, never seen her on the big screen. You know, we've never seen her on movies. You know, we've seen Hulk lots, but never She-Hulk.
Right. And I think she's actually a more interesting character than the Hulk long term. Like the core of the Hulk himself is actually, it's a pretty good idea. The raging monster, all emotion, no intellect, and then swap it with Bruce Banner. But you can only get so many stories out of that, or so many types of stories out of that. Whereas She-Hulk, you have her as a lawyer, but also as a super strong thing. So it's a different balancing act. So it'd be very interesting to see where they go with that. And in addition to that, the actress playing She-Hulk was really good. I really enjoyed the Orphan Black series from BBC a number of years ago. And then they've already announced a number of guest stars and cameos that are kind of big name actors reprising their roles. Abomination, Eli Roth, obviously, Mark Ruffalo coming back as Hulk, and then a bunch of other ones that we assume or rumors have been about. So in terms of like, I'm not going to say people know what we're talking about. So in terms of just like the star power behind this series I think it's the best of the ones that we know coming from 2020. Not to say that Oscar Isaacs isn't a pretty big star power draw himself, but this one has a lot of quantity in it.
We're also going to be getting the Miss Marvel series. This will be dropping in the summer. This one kind of slipped back from this year. I believe that's probably more likely to do with either them redoing how they did the actual effects of it, or because of the Marvels movie being delayed a little bit, they've reshuffled that one, so it might make a little bit more sense. I'm looking forward to this one ever since especially playing through the Avengers video game last year, where I got really got to know the character a little bit more because I wasn't so familiar with her. But yeah, so those are the 3 like main ones. We don't yet know of Secret Invasion because this is the list is kind of things that we've got like confirmation that it's 2022. I mean, things might slip a little bit, but like Secret Invasion doesn't necessarily, they've never said 2022. I think it's going to be 2023. But Miss Marvel, are you looking forward to that one as well?
Oh yeah, Miss Marvel, she's been a great character in the Marvel universe for a number of years now. She was Really a surprise hit when she first came out. As I think she even had her own comic, and the character herself is just infectious. Like the way you saw in the Avengers video game, she's just fun to have around and geeking out with the other Avengers.
Yeah, it kind of gave me like Peter Parker vibes, a little bit of that kind of same thing.
Yeah, that's definitely in the same realm, especially because she has like the stretchy arm powers and stuff too. So she's not too far off from like Spider-Man.
Yeah,
she's got additional powers on top of that. I mean, I would definitely say the Avengers video game, it gets a really bad rep because of people were expecting it to be, you know, like a Destiny or a World of Warcraft style game where you could play for hours and hours and hours, and we're disappointed on that front, which I agree with. But the single player portion, the opening 8 to 10 hours of it, are great, fantastic.
I've played it through twice. And the Hawkeye missions were good as well. Speaking of some video games, because I got the new Guardians of the Galaxy video game for Christmas, so I've been playing through that over the last week. We're also getting a Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special. So they're filming. I think they've either filmed it or they're filming it now, because they're filming the third Guardians of the Galaxy movie and they're filming it at the same time. So how long this is, it could be 20 minutes, 30 minutes, it might be 10 minutes, I don't know. So that'll obviously be coming in around the holiday time. We're also getting a collection of shorts featuring Baby Groot, about him growing up. No word yet on when that will be coming in, but that might be a nice little filler. There's also a lot of rumors of the Werewolf by Night coming for Halloween. Nothing has been officially confirmed about that special, because it's going to be a one-off. They might be filming it in early. I mean, if they don't get it filmed soon, it will be Halloween next year, because of special effects and stuff. So, but again, those are the Marvel ones we know officially. So, the way I look at that is, if you got those, and then you got the I Am Groot and the holiday special, plus you've got the releases of like Eternals, and I mean, what else we're going to have? Four. We'll have
Doctor Strange.
So I think we're probably going to be close to 25 to 30 weeks of this year with a new piece of Marvel content on Disney Plus, which I think is great. I mean, that's well over half the year.
And that's not even counting if they continue to do the assembled behind the scene episodes as well. I mean, indications are they're going to continue with it. It's probably pretty easy for them to do. Whether or not you count that as actual Marvel content, it's still something that will be probably filling the gaps between season releases, just like they did this past year.
And also they can kind of release some of those things alongside the Star Wars content, which we're going into next.
Star Wars.
So there's obviously we got the Book of Boba Fett. So we're going to talk about that at the end of the episode, when we can go into spoilers on it. Not there was really that many. So the first episode has dropped. There's 7 episodes in this series, so that means we've got 6 weeks coming up now. So that takes us through to mid-February. Don't need to say too much more on the Book of Boba Fett yet. Then we're going to be getting Obi-Wan Kenobi series. So this one, I believe this one's going to be 3 episodes. So it's a little bit more shorter, but the episodes might be a bit longer. We don't yet know how that's going to work. This is just, I mean, we don't know that. I'm wondering if this might be the May 4th kind of release date. If they squidge in, you know, if we have Obi-Wan and then we have a Marvel series, we might be online then for around that time for Obi-Wan Kenobi, but maybe not. I could be completely wrong on that one. And then we're getting Andor.
Nice.
Yeah, we're then getting Andor. Now, Andor's actually the one I am really looking forward to, because this one is set to be a 12 episode one. So this one is kind of like a prequel to Rogue One. It's going to be a little bit more gritty. It's a spy thriller. We know nothing about the story. This one was like, it's hard to believe. I remember writing an article about this when like What's on Disney Plus was still under its I would say kind of code name at the time of its original name of Diz Streaming, way back in like 2000 and I think it was early 2018 was when I first put this together. I mean, this was, I can't believe how long this series has taken to come out. Some of it was only filmed near me. I'm really looking forward to that one. But again, and then we're going to get the Star Wars The Bad Batch. We're getting season 2 of that coming as well this year. So by my math, again, with 6 episodes of Boba, 3 episodes of Obi-Wan, and 12 plus Then we got the Bad Batch. We're looking again at another 20 to 30 weeks of Star Wars content coming in here. So now you get Marvel and the Star Wars, and now you put them together, and I was like, oh, we got 2022.
Yeah, no,
yeah.
It's interesting. Like 2020 was Star Wars content. There wasn't an incredible amount of it, but there was more of it than there was Marvel content.
Yeah.
2021 was definitely the year of Marvel. So much Marvel content, and then 2022, it does seem like they're kind of converging finally, so that we get it both. That said, I think I agree with you. The Andor series, this is the one that I am most looking forward to. Obviously, Obi-Wan, it's going to be great, especially with the star power attached to that again. But the Rogue One team, the characters in Rogue One, there's so much potential to show where they started from and how they got to the point where they were at Rogue One. Plus spy thriller. This is going to be, if they do this right, this is going to be fantastic. And I would love to see some series for some of the other guys too. And I know getting like Donnie Yen to reprise his role might not be that easy because he's a super huge star, especially in the Chinese markets. But getting some of these other characters, actually, you know who would be good? Bodhi would actually be really good. The Imperial pilot turned defector. See him as an Imperial character for a while, and do it from an Imperial perspective. That would be a very interesting, different view.
And it also depends on if the series ends just before Rogue One, or if they give themselves a little bit of leeway for a second or third seasons. The thing is, I would much rather do what they've done what they've got coming up in 2022, where I'd rather have one more Star Wars series and one less Marvel series, and kind of even out a little bit, rather than just all Marvel. I know you can have. Where will we see them crossover? I don't know. I mean, are we going to see more of the double episode? If we have the double episode premieres, we might see things stretch out a little bit more in terms of how they do it. It's hard to tell. It's hard to tell if they're going to carry on with that one. I think the Book of Star Wars: The Bad Batch is more likely to, but I think the Star Wars Bad Batch episodes can run alongside Marvel. That's the easiest one to run alongside.
And for Andor, depending on how long the episodes are, I could see them doing a double drop for that as well, especially the 12 episode series. I think it would be hilarious if they did a double drop on Obi-Wan. That is the one they're not going to do it on.
And the only thing I can think of is if they do like a 3-day of weekend, like they did with the Get Back.
Now, see, if it was ready by May the 4th, I bet they could do that, because you do May the 4th, May 5th, and then Revenge of the 6th, or however you want to think of May 6th. That would be an interesting way to do it. I think that's a really long shot. I'm expecting there'll be one later in the year.
So May 4th is like a Wednesday this year, so that does work with the release schedule. So they could do Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Just I mean, we know nothing. We're literally just purely guessing at this point. Also, as well, we're getting the new Willow series. So this is coming from Lucasfilm. So this is based on the original movies, as they've been filming it in Wales and stuff. I'm looking forward to this one. A little bit fresh. I'm looking forward to something different, a different universe. So this is something that can go maybe a lot. You throw that one again as well. Will they drop that around the same time as something else? I don't know. But it definitely, to me, I think a lot of people are sleeping on that series. I think a lot of people, maybe younger people that haven't seen the movie, haven't quite got that same connection with it. But I'm like, don't miss, this could be a major fun series for 2022.
Yeah, I mean, Willow's not really a franchise up to this point, right? It had the movie. The movie is well regarded. I thought it was a lot of fun, and seeing Val Kilmer, and that was a young Val Kilmer, and that was very interesting. But I think it'll be pretty good. I'm very much looking forward to this series, but I agree with you. It's not as well known a series, and it's not going to draw quite as much attraction as Star Wars or Marvel, obviously. But I'm really hoping that it'll get some good word of mouth once it comes out. Plus, being a fantasy series really does give it a different edge than sci-fi wizard Star Wars and it's
that kind of fantasy kind of side. Shifting now into the Disney side. So these are some movies and some series that are coming out. So we've got Cheaper by the Dozen coming in March. So hopefully, we've also got Disenchanted coming later in the year for fall. So I think those two are going to be. I think Disenchanted is going to be huge. Better Nate Than Ever. That'll be coming in the spring. Hocus Pocus 2. I mean, judging on how many people are into Hocus Pocus 1, I think this one's going to be a big one. I think this will definitely be a big movie coming up in the future. We're also getting Pinocchio in the fall. So, I mean, already the lineup there is better than 2021, where we had like 3 movies. And then we got Ice Age Adventures of Buck Wild. Important to note, coming at the end of January for the Americas, and the rest of the world, we're getting it in the end of March. I've had it confirmed to me that by someone at Disney this week. So it's definitely a bit of an odd one with that one. I don't know. I think it might be to do with dubbing or subtitles or something, but hopefully that's the only one that's doing that next year.
Yeah. Let's get day and date as normal.
Yes, don't like this new idea. Sneakerella has now been pushed back to May. So that was originally going to be February. They've pushed that one back. So we've got a couple of nice. I mean, that's what, 6 movies. So that's like 1 every 2 months, which is not too bad. I mean, for me personally, I think Disenchanted is the one I'm most looking forward to, and I'm willing to give Pinocchio the benefit of the doubt because it's been long enough. You know, that one's been. I don't think I've watched anything Pinocchio based for so long. Like, I'm willing to give that one a go. Sneakerella, yeah. So I've got
there will be an audience for Sneakerella. Yeah. I think that we're not really in that audience. I pick shoes based on what's comfortable and in my price range, and that's like the full extent of thought I put into it. But there is a whole subculture of sneaker stuff, so I think there's an audience for that.
My only worry with that one is the whole kind of split or the reversal roles. Mm-hmm. You know, with what I don't want. I can see it already happening now of people jumping on the bandwagon and kind of dissing on it before it's really had a chance to go because of that becoming an issue. You know, with having a Godfather and you know, just being twisted in terms of that. I mean, it's like, just give it a go. You know, I'm in some ways, it's like my expectations are so low. I probably am going to enjoy it because I'm not expecting a lot from it. I do find that with these movies. I'm like, I'm not excited about it. I do watch. Oh yeah, that's all right.
I'm kind of expecting the same for that one. I'm like, go into it, find the humorous bits in it, see if it's well crafted. I know they would never do it even if he was still alive, but it would have been great if Marlon Brando was playing the Godfather and that just for like the meta implications of it. Moving on from Sneakerella, I've never seen Enchanted, so Disenchanted isn't even really on my radar at all, but I will watch it before this one comes out, and obviously we'll talk about it at that point.
Enchanted was such a lovely film, and I need to rewatch it because it kind of took the mick out of the classic Disney movie, but it had some amazing songs, and again, it's a movie I need to watch again. I think because it wasn't on Disney Plus I know they put it on for Disney Plus Day, but there was so much content dropped over that time. I haven't really gone back and watched it.
The only thing with Enchanted was I saw Alan Menken in concert at D23, and I think it was 2017, something like that. And he talked about this movie because it's like Disney was shopping around for an artist, and like we want to spoof like the Beauty and the Beast and Little Mermaid and so forth. And Alan Menken's like, yeah, I know how to spoof those songs because he wrote them. I fully expect that the music in Enchanted and then again in Disenchanted will be really good. Last thought before we move on to the next one, Hocus Pocus. Like you said, there's a lot of goodwill around this one. Hocus Pocus, but I'm very worried that the first Hocus Pocus was a lightning in the bottle kind of movie. And I'm not really sure how confident I am in them being able to do it twice. That said, being able to get all 3 of the sisters back will count for a lot because their personalities really did drive the first movie. And if they can keep that energy going, it should be okay. But that said,
it's a big ask.
This is my I'm worried that this is going to be like Home Alone kind of thing.
Well, I don't have the nostalgia goggles for Hocus Pocus because I think I only watched it like this year. I think it was not this year, last year or the year before. My thing is the data shows that anything Home Alone would be good for Christmas. Doesn't necessarily mean we ended up with a good Home Alone movie because that one's been rocketing. But let's shift now, carrying on with some of the Disney stuff. A new series of the Proud Family, Louder and Prouder, that's coming into February, 10 episodes. So we're getting that one then right through the spring. The Spiderwick Chronicles. So this was announced during Disney Plus Day. It was in a UK press release to me that it was coming in 2022. It looks good in terms of what it is. Again, I know nothing about. I don't think I've even seen the original movie, so I'm actually got a little bit more like, okay, something different. I'm looking forward to this. Yeah.
I didn't even know there was a movie. I thought it was just a book series.
I think no, I'm sure they made a movie of it. I'm pretty sure they made a movie of it.
I might track that down, or at least track down reviews and see if it's worth looking at. Otherwise, I know nothing about this series except that it exists.
Came out in 2000 and came out in 2008, and has the kids. Is that the guy from? I'm just trying to think.
So no, either way, I'm putting this kind of in the same thing as Willow, where I'm really looking forward to it as something different from the Marvel and Star Wars.
Yeah, it stars the guy that's the main guy from The Good Doctor. That's why I recognized him there. So that was, but he was obviously a lot younger when this one came out. Okay. Yeah, we're getting a Baymax series of so this will be his first ever animated, the Walt Disney Animated Studios' first ever animated series. So Baymax will be dropping, which could be fun.
The trailer looked pretty good, so I'm interested in it.
Yeah, definitely. Rise is a new sports movie that's coming about some Greek brothers that come over from Greece. I'm not even going to try and pronounce their names because I remember making a video on that one on just like the amount of outtakes trying to pronounce. This is like, sorry, I was listening to them. It's just one of those things. It's going to be a little bit interesting. And I remember Safety being a bit of a movie where I went into Safety thinking, it's about sports, but I really enjoyed Safety. So I'm giving this one a bit of again, just kind of benefit of the doubt.
I think the really good sports movies typically focus less on the sports. The sport is a background for the character drama, and that was what it was in Safety. It was really about the kid and his brother, and the football was just why he was in college. Don't know anything about the story this is based on, but I think it'll be. I don't think it'll be like a super amazing movie, but I think it'll be a nice, comfortable, feel-good movie, more than likely.
Yeah. We're also getting the Rescue Rangers Chip and Dale movie. So this will be coming out, I think it's in the spring. This is a live-action hybrid movie. I'm really worried about this one because I am a massive Chip and Dale Rescue Ranger fan. You literally have Chip and Dale over here behind me. I love the Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers. So if this is the kind of thing of don't ruin my childhood for me, this is how this. I always find that with an odd expression because it's like you just go back and watch the old ones. But nevertheless,
not to get on a tangent. I don't like that expression either. It's like, the new thing doesn't ruin the old thing, but I get the idea behind it. Yeah, but I'm very much in the same boat with you on this. I'm like, I want this to be good. I want to like this because I loved the Rescue Rangers growing up, and I loved Chip and Dale even before the Rescue Rangers. But there is a very large part of me going like, this is going to be a train wreck. Having said that, at the very least, Andy Samberg's involved, right? Like I don't know which one he's voicing, but he's one of the Chipmunks. Yeah. He is generally a very funny person. So I'm at least hoping there's that, but this is a different medium than he normally works in. I don't know how he'll be as a voice actor. Oh man,
I'm also that thing about that old man in me going, if this was at the cinema, be bigger and better. I shouldn't say that about a Disney Plus original, but it's like you're taking one of my like favorite things, and it might be fine, but yeah, it's just that worry of it. Oh, is it going to have a bit cheaper? I don't know.
But you can take this either way on that because if it was going to be a cinema release, I don't think it would ever get released in cinema because this would never get greenlit. And this is where the Disney Plus streaming comes in, where it's that middle ground where theoretically better quality than a Disney Channel original, which are generally kind of like Hallmark, and then the full releases, which of course we expect a lot from. Disney Plus offers that kind of ground where stuff that normally wouldn't get to a movie can now be made. That said, please be good. I want this to be good.
You can tell that that's the one. Like, oh, okay. We're also getting another Diary of a Wimpy Kid, Roderick Rules. So we're getting another of the animated movies. This one just dropped before Christmas, so we've got a second one already in the pipeline. Fine, I'm happy with that one. Yeah.
My understanding is that the live action version of this, so the previous one that was made, is considered like one of the best of the Diary of a Wimpy Kid movie, so
Yeah.
got some big shoes to fill.
Well, I think the problem is, and I know the animated one that came out before Christmas, because a lot of kids that grew up watching it are now like, young adults and stuff, and kind of or teenagers watching it, going, "This isn't as good as the movie," because they literally cut out like all the extra stuff they added into the live action movie because the book wasn't long enough, whereas the animated one was more based on the book. So technically, the newest one is more closer to the book, whereas the live action one, they kind of had to fluff it out a bit, and I think the fluffing out made the story better. And I've never seen any of them, so again, it's kind of, we're at an advantage because we haven't got that the nostalgia for them.
And I'm only basing that statement on what I've seen other people say. I've also not seen the live action, but generally when it comes up, people are like, no, Roderick Rules live action one is the best of that series. So we'll see what happens here.
We're also getting the 3rd season of High School Musical, the series. So they're actually going to be starting to film that next month. Again, I think that was a bit easier for them to turn around. I enjoyed season 1. Season 2 was a disappointment, I think, primarily because of COVID kind of destroyed whatever plans they had and kind of just wrecked the ending. We're also
that was the theme of 2021, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it was. I always feel like in some ways, like Mighty Ducks and the Big Shot were able to hide it better because they just ended up doing their finals in front of no audience. I mean, they did that whole thing with the bees and stuff to kind of keep people out in Big Shot. Whereas High School Musical was so much harder for them because they couldn't do that for a stage show, and they just couldn't get all the people together. So hopefully it will be, all the people are returning. Olivia Rodrigo is returning for it. How long she's in it, I don't know. I'm not expecting a huge amount, but I suspect she'll be about one scene and go, bye. I've got loads of money. Bye.
I mean, it's entirely possible that they'll show up for the first day of school and she'll be like, "Oh no, I got picked up by this college over here. I'm gonna go sing for the college." I expect it'll be a little bit more than that. If they're gonna pay for her to show up, I'm sure there'll be at least one song with her in it. But we'll see.
It's funny because I think that was the thing for me of like with her music. Obviously, it was High School Musical was how I was introduced to her, and she did such great songs in that first season that it was like, like when the second album comes out, oh yeah, no, she's really good. And so that was our first album came out. It was good. We're also getting a series of shorts based on Zootopia called Zootopia Plus. I mean, how long these are? I mean, these could literally be like 2 minutes a piece. More Zootopia is good.
More Zootopia is good. I think it was a really good movie, and it never really got the full attention that it deserved for the story that it was telling. I know it's got a bit of a cult following, but it's not one of the ones that pops up, and its presence.
Do you know what?
Disney isn't that big.
It actually is one of the top 10 movies of the year that people watched on Disney Plus. I think it was number 10. This did an article that's just come up today, where I look back at all of the whole year's data, and I think it was actually one of the top 10 movies of the whole year. What people were watching. They're constructing Zootopia Land right now in Shanghai Disney, and I suspect if it's successful, then we'll see it rolled out elsewhere. But yeah, I mean, I know it was massively popular when we were out there.
It took a long time for Zootopia to start, gaining legs at Disney in general.
Yeah. Well, I think sometimes what happens a lot with Disney is they do play it safe with their movies. A lot of people don't, and I was having this discussion with somebody yesterday about Frozen, of like, Disney didn't fully board the Frozen train till they knew they had a hit. They didn't jump, they do this, it's like Encanto and all the rest. They wait and see how things are going. Based on how many people are watching Moana, because that was the #1 movie of 2021, if they haven't greenlit us, I know we got the series coming, but that if that isn't telling them build some things in the park, I don't know what is, because that thing the stage show that I saw in Hong Kong Disney was awful.
They need to bring Moana and Lilo and Stitch over to the water parks over in Florida. I mean, that would make the most sense, and the water parks should probably use the attention.
Now they are also filming the Mighty Ducks season 2 and also Big Shot season 2 and also the Mysterious Benedict Society season 2. However, we don't yet know if they will hit our screens in 2022. So they might. I'm thinking they're going to slide into 2023 if they're only just start. I mean, they could turn them around because obviously not as much edit, but they've not been on any of the announcements that they were coming.
I might expect the Mighty Ducks towards the end of this year. Big Shot is kind of a stretch goal. I'd be very surprised if the Mysterious Benedict Society showed up this year, though.
Yeah, because that needs a lot more special effects than the other two.
Exactly.
So they might arrive, they might not. Pixar, we've got Cars on the Road, which is a brand new series. I think it's going to be shorts. With Cars, with more Cars is great. We're also getting behind the scenes looks at Turning Red and Lightyear. So more Pixar's a bit of an odd one because we are getting 2 big movies this year from them. Now, I do believe that Turning Red is going to get a theatrical release because while the announcements haven't been quite as definite as Lightyear, I think they might. I think they'd probably just do a 30-day one, just to claw back. I feel like now with these 30-day releases, it makes them seem bigger, and it also kind of makes it feel more just a bigger movie if they're released in cinemas, even if they take a bit less. But I mean, Turning Red looks fun.
Yeah, and Pixar is a big enough name that people will go to the theaters for where they might not otherwise for other theatrical releases, even a couple months from now. And I think, we saw that grumbling from Pixar around the time Luca came out with like, why do you keep relegating us to Disney Plus? Let our movies go to the theaters and box office. Obviously, we're not going to go into the economics or politics of all that, but getting Turning Red into theaters would be a nice gesture by Disney to go Pixar. Yes, no, we still, yeah.
I still think Raya should have. I think it was Raya that should have been the one that should have gone instead of Luca, because Luca by then cinemas were open a little bit more, but Raya in March was just like, it just made total sense at that point. And I love Raya. I thought that was an amazing movie. Now let's talk about some National Geographic. Now this one is we're getting America the Beautiful. Looks pretty cool. The World According to Jeff Goldblum's second batch of episodes, and Limitless. So those are the originals that are coming. But I've also got to point out there are tons of National Geographic documentaries coming on top of that we'll see dropping onto Disney Plus at some point. We're going to be getting more of what we've already, Critter Country, Yukon Vets, Dr. Poe. You'll be getting Gordon Ramsay. You'll be getting Bear Grylls. There's a lot. While the National Geographic one is like, it's TD, and there's no mention there of Bug's Life. I don't know what happened with that one. I suspect there's a lot more, and then we're going to be getting all the theatrical releases that they release as well. It's a little bit like, there's not a lot there. And then when I actually went through and did like a whole list just of National Geographic, I was like, oh, we've got like 20 plus series. We've got documentary. And I mean, they've not even announced their 2022 cinema lineup yet. When you think of some of the great movies that came out from them, or the documentaries that came out in 2021, and we didn't know about them until much later. I think there'll be lots for us to be looking at.
National Geographic typically doesn't announce too far in advance. Normally we get like a month or two at most, and obviously in a 12-month year, if they're going to release something in April, we probably wouldn't have heard. We won't hear about it until February. No. So I'm not reading too much into this. National Geographic's, it makes sense. It's going to have a small one. These are the big name titles that we know about. I mean, Chris Hemsworth attached to that one. Yeah. Goldblum is still a name. These are big releases, but they will be peppered throughout the year. We will get lots of very quality content from National Geographic. I hope we get a drama series of some sort. Obviously, The Right Stuff was a good series. They have a history of putting together these drama series. If it's not as special effects heavy as say the Right Stuff was, it's something I potentially get by the end of the year.
I'm currently working my way through the Anthrax series that just dropped, because over Christmas is just like, we've not really been watching those kind of serious ones with all the specials and stuff that's been coming on. There's also Bark Skins as well. I've not managed to watch that one yet because it's not arrived on Disney Plus here in the UK yet. But so I feel like, again, like you said, with National Geographic, they'll announce their winter slate. We'll start having the upfronts coming up soon, so there'll be lots of this. Same thing really goes with the Disney Channel. We'll be seeing more stuff announced from them, because I know we're going to be getting like Zombies 3. We'll be getting new seasons of new shows. There'll be new movies coming from them, so that'll be dropping in. And also, I think it's that kind of weird thing, because like obviously with Marvel and Star Wars, it's very Disney Plus or cinema, but with National Geographic and Disney Channel, we're still getting that like mixed up messaging in terms of how they're releasing stuff. which will continue. And I think this is where 2022 will see us hitting that stride with the theatrical releases being regular. That we'll start having like big titles dropping on. We've seen it, the last couple of months. Once we start getting like Cruella and Black Widow and Shang-Chi, and we got Eternals coming up, and then you're gonna get Free Guy in the United States next month. You're gonna start seeing these big titles every single month.
Yeah. I'm actually a little surprised that Free Guy is coming. I figured that would be a Hulu, but
no, because it's got Star Wars and Marvel references, and it's a very like Fortnite, Grand Theft Auto. It is very teenage friendly.
It is very teenage friendly. They do drop a couple of curse words in there. That's more what I was thinking. Is that the content feels like more like what you would expect on Hulu. So I'm actually really glad they're bringing it over instead.
Well, this is a topic really. We've said it a lot in 2021, and we're going to say a lot in 2022. Of this is exactly the kind of thing that they need to do more of. Things like West Side Story. I imagine that will be dropping onto Disney Plus as a big release at some point to kind of give that utilize that movie that they spent a lot of money on that really just didn't pull the people in over the holidays.
But did get very good reviews. So hopefully people will check it out on Disney Plus. I think it will come to Disney Plus too, especially when they saw how well Hamilton did. Yeah. And this is more kid friendly than Hamilton, even though it is a Romeo and Juliet story, so it might end a little tragically.
Yeah, again, it was. I know it's this kind of thing of, like they said, like older people not going to the cinema, and this is where that movie, that audience wasn't there in the same way of like with Spider-Man, and it's a shame because I'm looking forward to it, and I've not heard one bad thing about that movie, which. It just seems to be like along the lines of it's great, but nobody turned up because it's just not the kind of movie people have been going to cinema for. If it hasn't got a Marvel in it, it doesn't seem to count.
I think it also suffered from having some pretty bad trailers that really didn't convey what it was trying to do. I mean, the name West Side Story is familiar to people from our generation and kind of a little bit before us, because obviously the first movie, but there was really very little press about this movie. There was very little push to get people to know about it, to go and see it. And what little they did have was just like, hey, look, here's a couple guys singing. I think, they dropped Lin-Manuel's name a couple times, and that was it. That was the press. So I'm honestly not surprised that this bombs.
It's kind of funny because I think as well, if like in some ways it probably could have benefited from being like pushed back 6 months to be next summer. Now, I've got a few Star originals as well to talk about. So these will be heading to Hulu in the United States and Star Plus in Latin America. Hit Monkey Season 1. I know it's already out in Hulu, but that'll be coming to for all of us internationally in January. In February, we're getting Pam and Tommy, which is all about Pamela Anderson and Tommy Lee's sex tape. This one is, I thought the trailer looked good, but I tell you what, this is the thing of when you put the stories like that out and the images and stuff, this is where Disney Plus fans in the US aren't quite what are you talking about? This is like, it's like, no, this is a Disney. This has been making lots of headlines over here in the UK of like top 20 shows that people are looking forward to. This one's popping up and all. The trailer I thought looked great. I thought it looked really good.
Hilarious.
Yeah.
This is by the same person who did I, Tonya, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Which was a fantastic movie. Just absolutely like black comedy stupidity everywhere. And if this is anything like that, then I think this will be great. But it is interesting because America, of course, we have the reputation for being very prudish about stuff like this and so on and so forth. So we get the double whammy where it's probably fairly mature and it's also highly sexualized. Whereas you guys over in Europe, like,
oh, we know.
What are you guys worried about? I tend to fall on that side of the spectrum. I'm just like, whatever. It's part of life. Why are you getting all prudish about this? But yes, America has a very heavy prudish streak, and it'll be interesting to see how this one.
Yeah, this one's going to be good. So we've also got some other good stuff coming. We've got How I Met Your Father. That'll be coming. I believe that's this month in the US. We don't yet have an international date, but we know it's officially coming. So I'm looking forward to watching that on there as well. So while I like the original, I don't have that. I only watched like the first few seasons. I've recently been watching it again, so I don't have. I can kind of, I think, go into that one a little bit. Plus, it's got Hilary Duff in, so I mean that one should be pretty good. We're also getting the not Dope Sick, the Dropout. I've been getting these two mixed out for the last 2 years, and it'll be continuing. The Dropout, which will be starring Amanda Seyfried, is basically she becomes a billionaire that loses all of her money. Kind of fun. Originally, I think this was actually going to be played by the woman that was in Ghostbusters and Saturday Night Live. So I think the tone might change quite a little bit with like how she does this one.
Is this based on the woman who started up that medical company? And
I think so.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. I can't remember any of the names involved. That should be a very interesting series because that whole story is about this woman raising funding for this medical company and like basically the pyramid scheme she ended up constructing out of it is absolutely fascinating. So if they do this well, this has the potential to be a really good series.
Yeah, I think my level now of like looking at some of these shows is good. We're also getting at least 4 original movies coming this year. We're getting No Exit, which is a horror about being stranded in a blizzard. A new Predator movie coming in this summer called Prey, which is set 300 years ago. Rosaline, which is a new version of Romeo and Juliet, but it's about Juliet's cousin. Having seen her recent,
Rosalind, who was also Romeo's original love at the beginning of the play as well.
I'm going to be honest. I don't. We did Macbeth and Midsummer Night Dream. So that was one of my 2, and those are the only 2 I know.
I think I read like 4 or 5 in high school, and then I actually took a class on Shakespeare in college where we did like something like 20 of his plays. So I'm not by any stretch a Shakespearean scholar, but I do know a fair amount about it.
All I know is I put the Romeo and Juliet movie on. I think I didn't make 3 minutes before I turned it off.
That the old
Claire
Danes one from back then,
it was like
that's an interesting interpretation of Romeo and Juliet. Typically very popular with people who like that style, and everyone else is kind of going, "What is this?" or your reaction to it. Having said that, doing the story from the perspective of Rosalind at least should be a new angle on this story that has been done to death. Like West Side Story is.
I'm just hoping they don't do it in Shakespearean because no one, even us as British, English, we can't understand it.
I can't imagine they would do this in Shakespearean English.
I remember going to see Twelfth Night at the Sydney Opera House because I got a student ticket. I didn't care what I was watching. I just wanted to go see something out there. I remember watching it, and I didn't have a clue. So I'm hoping it's in New English rather than Old English.
I can't imagine that this will be done in iambic pentameter.
I can't imagine this trying to give us a brand new Shakespearean movie. Yeah, it'd be a bit odd. We're also getting The Princess, which is I think this one is supposed to be a bit like a John Wick style version of a princess movie. So that one could be interesting. So that's definitely going to be an original one. We've also got some like FX shows and stuff dropping, like the Old Man with Jeff Bridges. That one's set to be a big release. I've been talking about that one for a while. There's going to be, I mean, that's the other thing as well. Obviously, internationally, we're going to be getting like all the ABC and the FX. All of those shows are going to be dropping in. It's already looking. I mean, I'm looking forward to The Walking Dead because we're getting 2 batches. One batch starts in February. Another one later in the year on Disney Plus here in the UK. Whether or not I'm wondering if we're not going to get Only Murders in the Building again by the end of the year. If they've been filming it before Christmas, whether or not they can turn it around quite quick last time they filmed it.
Yeah, and again, it's not a special effects heavy show. I think they used all the special effects in like the final episode.
Yeah,
it could potentially show up. If it does, right there. That was such a great series, and they've added even more star power based on what we've seen from the press releases. Season 2 should be a lot of fun.
And I think they'll be picking up some additional movies along the way that they can pick up the rights to. New series. I mean, there's going to be a lot more coming at the tail end of the winter. Because this year we've got Star Wars Celebration taking place in they moved it to May, haven't they? Because originally it was August, and they pushed it back, I think, to May because it being too close to the D23 Expo, which is happening in September. And then we're also going to have the New York, San Diego Comic-Con should be back. If all these events are running, we should start seeing stuff going. Obviously D23 will be the big one this year. In September, we're planning on going for the first time. We're also got Disney Plus. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm literally hoping we can get out the country. And Disney Plus Day, whether or not they bring that one back. But then that tends to set up the following, the following year. But a lot of content, a lot of stuff coming up. I mean, I'm just looking at the list going, wow, that's a lot. And especially when you start breaking down weekly shows, that's a lot.
Yeah, and like we were talking about with National Geographic, there's a lot of stuff that we don't even know about yet. Because, yeah, sure, the Star Wars and the Marvels, they normally announce very far in advance, but things that are not Marvel and Star Wars, you typically only hear about a couple of months before they come out, and we're in
sometimes
January.
A week or two.
Yeah, sometimes a couple of weeks. Yeah, what was the one that dropped like the day after they announced it? I don't even remember. It was one of the movies at the beginning of last year. And it was like we knew it was coming because of the rumors, but they didn't actually announce it until like 3 days before it came out. Like, okay.
Yeah, it's that kind of thing. I think in general we are really. I think the other good thing is, with production in 2021, it was slower than in 2020. They were still able to get stuff filmed, whereas in 2020 everything kind of got shut down for months. So therefore, it was that long effect. And we'd said about it before of like, great, they've got back to filming, yeah, but it could be a year before we see what they're filming. We knew we were going to have that drought. It feels like the drought, the water, that level is starting to top back up again. There's just a lot coming up. A lot of great shows to be interested in, and I'm loving there's a lot more variety. There seems to be a lot more variety this year.
Yeah, we talked about Willow, potentially the Spiderwick Chronicles, bringing in like that fantasy element. We've got stuff like How I Met Your Father, bringing the sitcom elements. The Wonder Years, of course, continuing on, things like that. There really is a feeling that there's something for everyone at this point.
Yeah, I mean, this week we got Big Sky. I just watched the first episode, so they've got that one. That one's come back. We've got so many great series just dropping now on Disney Plus. I'm really hoping actually in February, for example, here in the UK, Tuesdays we'll be getting Walking Dead. Wednesdays is normal release day. Thursday will be This Is Us. Friday, we're going to be up to, and then I think like in Australia, Snowdrop's been dropping on like the weekends. We're really starting to see. I'm gonna if they're dropping like 6, 7, 8 series on a Wednesday, I'd much rather they start spreading them out a little bit, because it's becoming a little bit packed. And then you look at the US list and you okay, because I literally have been saying to people like, if Disney don't make some announcements for January in the next week, I will be. It's like they've got to do something, because just feels so light.
I mean, it was one of the talking points at D23. It was one of the talking points. Sorry, not D23. Disney Plus Day. Yeah. It was one of the talking points at the investor chair call at the end of last year. Obviously, though, these things take time. You can't just start dropping stuff that doesn't exist, despite people, demanding Mandalorian season 3 or whatever. It's like, it doesn't exist yet, guys. They're still making it. We should see this start to ramp up about halfway through the year. I'd expect to start seeing an increase in the number of announcements, an increase in the number of shows coming, even if they're not, top tier. They're not like the super amazing ones. They will be more content coming, but we still are in that period where, okay, even if Disney recognized it in June 2021, we need to produce more content. That's not going to start showing up for a little bit.
Now, interesting, today is the first day with Bob Iger no longer at Disney. So he's he left this week. He's been at Walt Disney World for the last few days. He put up a lovely tweet about everything, kind of his great time. So we'll probably be selling his story to Universal or something next week. I'm not joking. But it's apparently Barack Obama, the president, did actually tell him, don't do anything for 6 months. Don't read anything for 6 months. Just get used to it. So he did a little interview with CNBC just before Christmas. And he did state at the time that he said that they are aware that they need to appeal to a broader audience. And Bob Chapek is aware and is dealing with it. And it was kind of quite interesting of Bob Chapek actually saying that, because he's generally been the one that kind of liked to keep Disney Plus in this US silo that it was in. And hearing him kind of saying, yeah, we need to approach a bigger audience, a broader audience, and Chapek is, and he was definitely kind of like, yeah, he's aware and he's going to deal with it. So bye, everybody.
I think though he couldn't avoid talking about it.
No.
Either Chapek or Iger, they could not avoid talking about it because the investors have been increasingly, commenting on. You're seeing articles popping up on like The Economist and the various financial journals going like, Disney Plus needs content. Disney Plus needs content. They can't compete with Netflix or even Amazon Prime without more content, and they had to address the point. Otherwise, they appear to be burying their heads in the sand, and all the economy articles would be like, they don't even know what they need. Sell, which of course Disney does not want you to do.
No, because the stock price is taking a bit of a beating, but that's it. So that's going to wrap up like the what's coming up in 2022 line of this one. So we're now going to shift over to our first thoughts on the first episode of Star Wars Book of Boba Fett. So the first episode dropped on Wednesday. What did you think of it?
It certainly was an episode. It was good. It was good, I will say that. But I don't know. It didn't have that like grabbing hook to it, like the way Mandalorian did, or the first season of the final season of Clone Wars had. It really would have been nice to maybe get the second episode and see if that kind of picks things up.
I feel like the second episode, had it or dropped on the same day, might have given that one a bit of a rub. It's a bit of a funny one because I feel like there was a lot of discussion about, they're not promoting it and they're not pushing it and there's no publicity. I'm like, well, it is out the week between Christmas and New Year, so that severely limits what they can do. Also, it's like they're putting out trailers, they're putting out posters. It's Star Wars, and there's on the lines of press haven't got early copies. Like, well, we never get early copies of. The Star Wars stuff is very secretive, and even the Mandalorian, no one really got episodes very much before it came out anyway. And so it's like, well, that's kind of standard. And I mean, the premiere got pushed back a few weeks because of the current situation in Los Angeles with the pandemic. But I was a bit like, well, I don't really. It's like, over the doing interviews and stuff, but because everyone would have been asking them questions they can't talk about. It's like, well, what was there's no point putting them all into interviews if they have to just spend the whole time lying to us, or just saying no comment or dodging everything, because that would have been any good anyway. It would be better to wait a couple of weeks after New Year and then actually start talking about stuff a bit more.
Well, I would say a good example of that is, of course, Andrew Garfield has been out promoting his movie, for the last several weeks, and every single interview you saw was like, "Are you in Spider-Man: No Way Home?" And he's like, no comment. You're like, every interview is literally, he can't talk about it. He can't tell you. He can't, I'm totally in No Way Home. Like, why do you keep asking him this? And this would be the situation that you were talking about with Boba Fett. Hey, what's going on in Boba Fett?
Can't tell you.
Watch it. That is literally the answer.
It's like, what's the plot of the series? We don't know. We've got no idea what the plot is. The first episode's ended. He's a crime lord, which we kind of knew that beforehand.
That was the ending sequence in The Mandalorian, was him killing Bib Fortuna and taking over the throne. It's like, that's the plot. Yeah, right there. That's the plot.
Yeah, I mean, it was a bit of an odd one. I wasn't so sure of the whole flashback stuff because they really kind of leaned in on that. I mean, I like the idea of them using the barrack, the tube, to kind of use it as a way of it feeling okay, because we've not really used to using flashbacks in Star Wars.
Yeah, so this is one of those things where right now I'm kind of like, why are you doing this? I'm not particularly interested in this story. I know that online there's been a big discussion on should they show how he got out of the Sarlacc at the end of Return of the Jedi.
Yeah,
I tend to fall in the camp of no, it's better as a mystery, but I know some people are very happy they showed it.
Well, wasn't that interesting? He just burnt his way out and climbed out.
That's actually the part of it where I was kind of like, literally all he did was cut a hole, and why didn't someone else do this? There were plenty of people with weapons down there. But what I think we're going to find is that even that short time in the Sarlacc is what is leading to the current ailment. I think that's what they're setting up.
Yeah.
And then additionally, that little kid Tusken Raider that he's kind of bonding with will turn out to be a clan chief in the modern era. But what I'm really hoping is that is not all that this storyline is setting up. I hope that there is something more to this other than him building a bond with a character who will probably be important in the last episode.
Well, I was half expecting them to like reveal the Tusken Raiders to be like rebels or something, kind of a group of humans or something underneath, kind of thing, and they were actually just pretending to be Tusken Raiders, kind of thing, to hide, kind of thing.
It would actually be kind of funny.
It's just the way that they were looking. They weren't acting like barbarians the same way that you're kind of used to seeing them.
Yeah, I mean, they started to build out a little in The Mandalorian. I think they, Mando had a couple interactions with them and that were a bit more peaceable. But yeah, they're trying to humanize them. They try to humanize the Gamoran guards, the pig face guys. It was like, it was a little weird. Plus, you guys are a little taller than I remember you being, which was kind of odd. I'm not sure what they're going with that one yet. I mean, that's the refrain for this one is, where are they going to go with this? And rather than it being like a super glued to my screen, where are they going? I want to see how the mystery unravels. More like, I'd like you guys to give me some answers before we keep going. Just not all of them, just a couple.
I enjoyed the episode. I thought it was good. There was a little bit of I kind of got to the end and went, it could have been better. It didn't hook me. I'll be back next week because kind of that thing. You guys are just like, you got me. That's fine. I think the trouble is with Boba Fett for me is I grew up with a bunch of action figures. I mean, I had a massive box full. I had the Slave One ship, and I had a Boba Fett action figure. And the problem is that we didn't know anything about him. And so obviously he's surrounded in mystery, and he's forever been surrounded in. And they've over the last 20 years, they've just been chipping away at what was him. And now it's along the lines of, it's like, okay, he's Boba Fett, but he's not. It's like, this is not the Boba Fett you remember.
That's the heart of the issue right there. I think for this, and then I also link it back to the Solo movie, not for Boba Fett, but just thematically. Because he was such a mysterious character back in the day, we only had his appearance in The Empire Strikes Back, the holiday special, if you were fortunate or unfortunate enough to have watched that, and Return of the Jedi. That's all we had of Boba Fett. And so your mind could construct any story you wanted out of it. Why did Vader respect him? What was the no disintegrations line? Things like that. You can construct your own story. And giving an official answer, how did he get out of the Sarlacc pit? Giving an official answer kind of actually takes away from the character rather than adding to it. And that's the problem. And it's bigger than the series. This is actually a systemic problem at Lucasfilms or Disney right now. So much of their Star Wars media is dedicated to, let's fill in this tiny little plot hole that you really didn't need to worry about.
No.
Let's explain the backstory of this tiny little detail. It's like, no, this is what made The Mandalorian good, was its own story. We're not concerned about explaining why Boba Fett is alive in that. Now, season 2 kind of mixed it up and brought stuff in and integrated it. But the original appeal of The Mandalorian is just, it's a story taking place in Star Wars. That's it.
Yeah.
Boba Fett is now going into that area of, we're explaining things that probably shouldn't be explained.
It's almost like that kind of thing. Like, do we need to know it? Did it make any difference?
And the answer so far is no.
No. There was another scene that really jarred with me was the parkour.
The parkour. I don't like that scene.
It was just like, it didn't look very good, because the scenery just didn't match up with it. But it's like, why are we doing this? Like, I was just like, this is like trendy 101. Just like, let's put this in. I was just like, okay, I understood what in some ways why they do it, but don't make all of them do it. It was it just feels like something they've been chucking into every action hero, and it gets a little bit like, I don't know. I was the one bit I was like, maybe if they cut it shorter, or a bit more normal with a little bit of it, rather than it becoming a full blown. You've got 2 minutes to fill here of running around and jumping on things.
I appreciated what they tried with it. It was something different. It's not something you've really seen in Star Wars. We don't have that parkour style fight in Star Wars up to this point. So I'm glad they're trying some new stuff. That's important. You can't just keep redoing the same tropes over and over again. That said, it wasn't very visually interesting. They really needed it to happen in crowds. Obviously, COVID probably prevented them from doing that. But
it just reminded me of Aladdin.
but the thing is, with Aladdin, when he's running through the streets are populated.
Yeah.
Even on the rooftop, there'd be people hanging laundry or something. This was literally like 2 minutes of just Fennec and these two ninja dudes doing very obviously choreographed parkour moves on empty rooftops, and that was a problem because you're just kind of sitting there like, what is this? This is weird, and it's oddly disconnected again because there's nobody else there in what is otherwise supposed to be a very populated, very dense city. And again, I recognize that's a COVID restriction. They could not have just a whole bunch of people milling around because it would probably been too dangerous. But they needed to frame this differently. This entire sequence is just a misfire.
And what did you think of the Mortal Kombat big monster in it?
I actually liked that they had a different monster, that it wasn't just a Rancor or another crate dragon or something like that, but it's kind of like, this design's weird. And then it turned into like an insect centaur for part of it. And it's like, it served the plot purposes, to have Boba bonding with the kid and also to get rid of that random Rhodian who was there for no apparent reason. It was an interesting design, at least. I'm not sure the practicality of it, but okay.
Yeah, the thing is, did you ever play Mortal Kombat?
Oh yeah, back in the day I played like 2 and 3.
Yeah, because it kind of the main like boss kind of looked like four arms, and it was just a bit like, okay, it's like, yeah, I don't know. It was a strange. There's been a real like weird reaction to it. Look, some people are loving it, and I'm going, and a lot of people hating on it. I'm like, well, it's not that bad either. It's like,
this is internet extremes. Example number 532 or whatever. It's not a bad show, and it may become a much better episode once we see where these plots are going, because that's the main issue right now. Is we are very much in the beginning, and things are being set up. So this could become a much better episode in retrospect if these payoffs down the road are really satisfying. It could also become a much worse episode if the payoffs are not good. Well,
I think there's also that whole thing as well of like, obviously the two main leads are much older. They're in their 50s and 60s, so they're everyone's a bit slow. It's a lot slower than we're used to seeing maybe from Star Wars, which I don't necessarily have a problem with that, because I mean, you kind of remember with like Obi-Wan Kenobi and Darth Vader, whenever the fastest of and Yoda, it's always been quite slow and plodding. But I don't know. I'm kind of like, I think I gave this a 4 out of 5. So I enjoyed it. There was problems with it, but it didn't take away. But I didn't leave thinking, oh my god, that's the best Star Wars series of all time.
Yeah, I'd probably
already had one.
I'd go with like 3.5 out of 5 for the moment.
I can see that.
But with the understanding that yes, this is a setup episode. It's getting the pieces in place for what will be future plots. Obviously, that Twi'lek ambassador dude is setting up a very important plot with him coming into conflict with whatever his title, mayor or whoever.
It's a bit of a funny one, really, because it's the whole thing of him wanting to play respect, and of course, none of them are giving him respect. So he's now going to have to take the respect or make them earn it. Going, oh yeah, you need to give me something. No, you bring me something.
Yeah,
I'm letting you go. Well, they'll be visiting. It's like, I need to.
But those were the best parts of the episode.
Yeah.
Also, and him going to the club. We'll just call it the club. And getting tribute from the headmistress. Almost no questions asked. She's like, "Yeah, you're in charge. Can I take your helmet real fast?" Oh yeah, look, some credits fell into your helmet. This is how it works. Yeah. But also, little bits of world building in that too, where she's like, "Oh, you didn't come on this giant palanquin carried by 50 droids. I didn't realize you were someone important. Let me fix that." And it was a very, very quick and easy way of showing how he's different from the old boss and how people are expecting things to go versus how he wants things to go. I thought that was a great sequence. That entire set was good, and I hope if they do more stuff like that going forward, we can really get into like the political underground of what's going on here. I
also feel like we're in that stage, and I think Star Wars did it, and Marvel kind of got into that situation of this kind of like, and it's that thing of looking out for this special appearance in every episode. Like, we don't want it in every episode because then it doesn't mean anything. If there's always somebody from it popping, hello, it's just like, and I think people are expecting that as kind of like as the thing that kind of keeps building. It's like, but that's not sustainable because eventually you're going to run out of stuff. But also,
And this is the thing we were talking about, like with Bad Batch as well. You know, it felt like it wasn't a Bad Batch show. It felt like it was a series of cameos. And, oh, do you remember this character? Do you remember that character? Mandalorian season 2 had this to extent, but I think they blended it in much better, where it made the characters they brought in made sense thematically with what was going on. And they're on Tatooine in Boba Fett. There will obviously be callbacks to both A New Hope and Return of the Jedi, and potentially also some of the prequels too, because those were on Tatooine. But it can't be overwhelmed by them. They've got to be little nods. They've got to be in the background. They can't do like oh, hey, do you remember this character? We're gonna hold frame on him for like 4 seconds just so you can remember. But they didn't do that. So that's good.
Well, it's funny you say that, because there was some clickbait article I saw of going, this classic character returned in the Book of Boba Fett, and it's like the I think the elephant piano man was well, you're really stretching at this point.
Yeah, no, I didn't recognize that. I was like, oh, that's the Max Rebo man.
But then to me, it's like pulling in from Return of the Jedi makes the most sense, because I mean we're only talking maybe, what was it, 3 to 5 years after around that time. So it kind of, you know, it makes more sense to pull in from that as that being the nostalgia, you know, with the Jawas and stuff, and
it would make sense that those characters are still in the same area, because he's in the area that Jabba controlled. So the characters who were in Jabba's palace, at least most of them, would feasibly still be there. So that makes sense. That like with Mandalorian season 2, it fits. It makes sense. It's not like, Darth Vader showed up. Well, why is Darth Vader here? And ignoring, of course, that Darth Vader is dead at this point. It's like, well, Darth Vader's Force Ghost is over here. Yeah. What? Yeah. Why? You know, these make sense. Max Rebo, maybe they held on it maybe a little too long, but at the same time, like, okay, yeah, that's a good callback. That works.
Yeah, but generally as a whole, nice solid episode. So we'll obviously talk about next week's on next week's podcast. So this one pretty much wraps up again another bumper. It's kind of one of those things of, you know, we're going through all of the 2022 lists. There's so much of it. So we'll be back next week with another episode. Again, you can subscribe to us on audio platforms. You can find us on YouTube, etc., where you can watch us. You can also take part in our weekly Q&A by becoming a Patreon and a YouTube channel member. That helps everything keep moving. And on that note, guys, thank you very much for joining us. Hope you've all had a fantastic new year, and we shall see you next week. Later.
Welcome to 2022.
Yes. Please be better.
Yeah, please.
I'd like to thank all of our Patreon and YouTube channel members for their support. You can become a member from as little as $2 a month, and you get access to our weekly Q&A and much more.